At the beginning of Matthew and Luke's Gospels, we have birth stories about Jesus. We have genealogies that trace back his ancestry. In John's Gospel, it begins just like Genesis that I shared yesterday. Genesis begins in the beginning. John's Gospel begins in the beginning. In Genesis, one of the first things that happens is God separates light from darkness, sees the light, and says that the light is good. In John's Gospel, we hear that the Word, in the beginning was the Word, who is Jesus, is Christ, who pre-exists with God the Father and with the Holy Spirit. And John is saying what has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. All people. So John's signaling right at the beginning of his Gospel that the life that Jesus is coming to offer and to bring is not just for the Jews, it's going to be for everyone, for all people. And our verse for the day is verse 5. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. One of the translations I've heard of that verse is that if you look at the Greek, it's and the darkness could not or did not snuff it out. You know, have you ever seen at a birthday somebody get those candles where someone tries to blow them out and they come back on? John's kind of saying that's what Jesus is like. That Jesus is the light that the darkness can never snuff out. And this theme of light is right at the beginning of the rest of this prologue of the Gospel of John. Verses 6 through 9 are about John the Baptist, and right at the beginning, the Gospel writer's trying to distinguish John the Baptist was a very significant figure, but he's not the one. And part of how he says that is, he came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light, the true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. So the fourth gospel is trying to signify John the Baptist was very, very important, but he's not the light. He's bearing witness to the light. And again, the light enlightens everyone. It's not just for the Jews, but coming for the world. And you'll also note in the prologue of the Gospel of John, in verses 1 through 18 in chapter 1, you hear the repetition of the word believe, and whoever believed. And the word believe occurs 79 times in John's Gospel. It's a very important word. And what's interesting is that it's always used as a verb and never as a noun. And what that means is a verb is an action word. And so for John, belief involves action. It involves how we live. It's not just mental assent to a statement. And that's a very important biblical truth. In the Bible, you don't believe something, you don't know something if you don't do it. So you can't say, for example, I know I'm supposed to love my neighbor. I know that. If you don't do it, the scriptures would say, you don't know it. And the light which comes into the world, which shines in the darkness, is Jesus. And we can know that and live in the power of that truth. And just know the light who is Christ, no darkness will ever be able to snuff it out.